Huh? I'm just gonna go run, man.
Okay, so Charlie and I, we have a 5K tomorrow morning. This is our pre-race ritual. This kid didn't sign up for it. You're a slacker.
What? It's a 5K? Oh, I'm ripped. Oh, delete that.
Bro, nah. So it's the morning of the race. We don't have any power. It's gonna be raining, but I don't think they're canceling it either, so we're not getting out of this, guys. So this is the fit we're rocking with. But when I get there, I'm gonna be wearing my jacket because you could probably hear the rain right now. But we'll be running in this. We'll be also wearing the flat twos. I don't know. Our good number is 173.
Look who got to run the race.
What is up, guys? I know it's been a while since the last video, so I'm making sure to get a good one for y'all. And today's race will actually be the first 5K on the channel. We'll be running the Run Rudolph Run 5K in Pacific Grove. Now, I will say something really funny happens in the middle of this race, so I'd like you to stick around if you're interested. Here we are at the start. As you can see, I'm running with my teammate Charlie, and luckily we were at the front. Now, coming into this race, I was thinking I could possibly get a fast time, but it turns out that was not the case. You guys will see about halfway through this race, the wind is absolutely terrible. As you can see, we were near the ocean, so it was actually raining before this, but it's not even that, which was the problem. And at one point, the wind ended up making us so slow, it felt like we were practically walking. And as you can see here, there's about 6 people ahead of me. I'm basically right next to my teammate Charlie, and from the old cross-country videos on the right, there is Gabe. I'm very happy to be racing him again. I'm excited to do so again in track season. So, like I said, we had goals coming into this race. Initially, I thought if it were a good day, I could run around mid-17s, so around 17:30, which would be about 5:35 mile pace. Guess what time I run in the comments, but I'm telling you, it is not near that goal, guys. Because like I said, something really funny happens in the middle of this race, but it did cost me a lot of time, guys. So the only non-windy part of this race was the first mile. As you can see, it's not too bad, and it actually felt very good for now. So for medaling, that was one of the goals that I also set coming into this race. And my age bracket turned out to be 12 to 19, which would make it very difficult to medal today because there were a couple high schoolers in this race. So basically, it ended up being medals for top 3 overall and then top 3 for your age bracket.
Man, I told you pink shirt was dangerous.
As you can see, we're actually talking, which kind of shows how much energy we had, but little did we know how bad the second mile would be.
Crazy, man. I know, I ran out of time to change, and I was screwed.
So I'd say by now we're probably a bit more than a half mile in. My watch was tweaking a bit, so I couldn't really tell how far we were running by now.
I'm like, shit.
No, my watch is tweaking. I don't even know how fast you're going.
But by now we're actually starting to enter the windy zone, which I will say this was probably one of the most painful experiences of my life. And as you can see, this race was actually pretty stretched out. I was kind of in a group of 3 or 4 with Charlie, and pretty soon I'm going to try to catch up to the 2 kids in front of us in the red. Here, I'm pretty sure we had a tiny bit of uphill. It wasn't that bad, so it didn't really slow us down too much. But by now, you can also see that I'm closing the gap on the first red kid, which is good. Maybe I was wrong. We're not even at the windy part yet, but it's probably in the next minute and a half or so. Here you can see someone on the right passing us. He got by pretty easily, actually, which surprised me. Now, throughout the last half of this race, you can see that I'm looking down a lot in the POV. Now, I didn't want to do this because it makes the footage worse, but I had to or else my hat would blow off. Just a bit of foreshadowing with what happens pretty soon. And by this clip, you can see just how bad it was. In person, it was a lot worse than it looks. Now, I was actually getting quite scared by now. My legs actually started to hurt a lot, even though we're not even halfway through the race. Reason being, we had to exert a lot more energy just to move ourselves faster because of all the wind. But here we actually caught another person on the far left of the screen. I didn't even notice during the race, but I'm actually noticing while I'm watching the footage. And pretty soon, a guy literally with a dog passes us with ease. It's kind of weird to see because the dog was just jogging basically, and they just passed us immediately. And funnily enough, this dude ended up placing top 3 overall, which was absolutely crazy. And while this happens, something else happens in 1 second. You guys do not understand the sheer panic that went through my mind here. So basically, I had to sprint back, grab the camera, and catch up back to Charlie through headwind. My quads were on fire. And here I actually cut to when I got the hat back functioning, but that was absolutely horrible, and that definitely cost me a ton of time. But actually, I don't really remember anyone passing me while I was doing that, luckily, but I could be wrong. It may be difficult to tell, but Charlie was sticking to me perfectly the entire race, and at the last 300 meters, we were going through some of the worst pain ever. So here we are on the way back. The wind was actually assisting us, but my body was so fatigued from what I had to do earlier that it didn't really make much of a difference. This race made me think that the 2 mile was so easy. Like, this was a lot more painful in my opinion. Here I am readjusting the hat. I had to make sure it was still recording after it fell because I did not want to lose all the footage in the second half. By this point of the race, we're actually like a mile out from the finish, so Charlie and I start pushing it, and it may be hard to tell in the videos, but I can tell you for sure that we were doing it. As you can see, I finally got my camera stable again, and now the new goal is to hunt down this guy in front of us. Now, this is the point of the race where the pain really started to kick in. I was pushing through so much here, it was horrible. But I was not going to give up the opportunity to medal because that's honestly all I really care about. Because by now in the race, I could sort of tell that my time would be cooked because of what happened earlier and by how windy it was. But the guy who won ended up running like a 16:45, which is absolutely crazy considering how bad the conditions were for today's race. So with that in mind, I will be making sure that the next 5K I sign up for is not near the ocean because that honestly made my time so much worse than it could have been. Here we are nearing the home stretch. This guy in the red again passes us after we passed him from earlier, and now I really have to start pushing it if I want to medal. It might be hard to tell and it might be easy to tell, but Charlie was absolutely wheezing at this point. I mean, I was too. I can't really just say that it was him.
Come on, give it all you got, guys! Come on! Go! Go, you're almost there!
And here we're actually on like the last 150, so this is when I start my kick. And I luckily hawk down these last 2 people, which barely qualifies me to medal. Here we are. I just sprinted that and it turned out to work out pretty well, and we end up running a 19 flat. Now, this is really shocking because I was initially aiming for like a 17:30 because I didn't expect it to be this.
How are y'all feeling?
So bad.
That was terrible.
That was like 40-mile-per-hour wind in our faces.
But now the question is, did we medal? And it turned out I ended up getting 3rd, just barely for the 12 to 19 age bracket. So today I ended up coming away with 2 medals, one being the participation medal, which I think I at least deserved one for finishing the race. That was horrible. And we got the top 3 medal.
My boobs are cold. What the fuck? That's in the video now.